Undoubtedly, one of the biggest shocks in the world of sport last year was Germany's disastrous showing at the World Cup in Russia. Die Mannschaft looked a shadow of their former selves, and aside from that lifeline goal from Toni Kroos against Sweden, they failed to live up to expectations. In the process, the Germans emulated both Italy and Spain to become the third straight holders of the World Cup to crash out after just 3 games in the defence of their title. To add insult to injury, Die Mannschaft were relegated from the top tier of the UEFA Nations League too, after being shown up by their successors France and arch rivals the Netherlands. But it hasn't just been the stuttering on-field performances which are putting a massive cloud over the DFB's reputation. Public crowds with star players and internal conflict within the organisation have led to a complete shift in paradigm within the German FA. And now, it's time for Das Reboot Nummer 2. Hey guys, how's it going? This is Wacker on the mic today, and since we're into the international break, I thought I'd talk about one of the more interesting stories on the scene. Of course, I'm talking about Germany's collapse and their effort to rebuild themselves as an emerging force in international football. So, before I dive into the present day situation, I think it's important to note that this isn't actually the first time there's been a crisis with the national side in modern times. Far from it. Back around the turn of the century, the country was struggling to produce talented coaches and young players. The side disappointed at the '98 World Cup and the Euros a couple of years later. And the future? It looked bleak. Ex-national team manager Berti Vogts had voiced his concerns on the matter too during his time in charge a few years earlier, and the German FA finally decided to take action before it all came apart completely. Several dozen centres of excellence were constructed all over the country, and a new dawn was upon German football. Having previously let what Vogts thought to be thousands of talented youngsters slip through their fingers already, the new initiative unearthed a core of players, which would go on to become the fulcrum of the golden generation. Among those, Lukas Podolski, Michael Ballack, Philipp Lahm, Basti Schweinsteiger, and of course, Mr. World Cup, Miroslav Klose. In the 2 decades that have followed, Germany have never been short of exceptional talents at youth level, which just goes to show how crucial the revival of the national side was all those years ago. The DFB still ploughs millions every single year to develop their young players, and the Bundesliga is one of those major leagues where young players get the chances to play more than they might in other countries. So I don't really see what's going on in the first team at the moment impacting the long-term future of the national side. So, how did the team which sat top of the world rankings for the best part of half a decade underperform so badly last year? Personally, I think it's probably fair to say the manager's tactics and a lack of hunger to win were the 2 main reasons for their downfall. Not Leroy Sané being left at home. He's not Superman. If you look at the previous 2 winners, Spain and Italy, and compare them to how Germany played last year, they all look freakishly similar. Laid back, relaxed, and not in a hurry to make something happen in attack. A careless mentality on the biggest stage of them all. World-class defenders getting caught out time and time again on the counter-attack, and a group of players who individually may still offer something at club level, but as a group, they're past their sell-by date. Let's use Spain in 2014 as a perfect example. A hungrier, driven, motivated Holland team ripped through them on the counter-attack, with Sergio Ramos and Iker Casillas on this occasion the scapegoats. Let's not forget this was the same historic Spanish team which won 3 major tournaments on the bounce. They simply lost the level of motivation to win after becoming used to being at the top for so long. Speaking of Ramos, by the way, he didn't just fall off the grid after that World Cup, and he continued to get selected by the national team during the rebuild because he remains a world-class defender. So I just want to point out that although many people want to call it the end for Hummels and Boateng right now, don't be surprised if they're still playing at the top level in 4 years' time. Which brings me to the recent news that those 2 and Thomas Muller have effectively been retired by Jogi Löw. While I don't completely agree with this and feel as though Hummels and Muller in particular still have a lot to offer, I am glad that there finally seems to be some cohesion at boardroom level. The fact the coach is being back to make decisions like this, it means he's going to be there for the long run, all the way until the Qatar World Cup, and it's probably the right decision. Let's not get it twisted here, folks. This is a guy who before last year had always reached at least the semi-finals of every tournament Germany competed under him, if not better. By the time his contract runs out, he'll have served 16 years as the Bundestrainer, longer than any other before him. And if he continues to embrace the rebuild by integrating new faces into the setup as he has done this season, Perhaps the new injection of fresh energy will accelerate the process and have Die Mannschaft in a position to reclaim their title in December of 2022. For that to happen, I think the main pieces to the puzzle are going to be Niklas Süle as the new leader at the back, Kai Havertz to add some magic to the midfield, and Timo Werner to assume the role of goalscorer. Also, I can see Julian Brandt and Leroy Sané becoming integral to how the new side will attack, but my main concern, it lies between the sticks. Manuel Neuer will go down in history as one of the most revolutionary goalkeepers of all time, and he's been a natural leader as captain of the national side since Philipp Lahm's retirement. There's no doubting his quality and what he brings as a personality to the side, but I honestly believe ter Stegen's overtaken him now. The Barcelona #1 is probably one of the top 3 goalkeepers in world football right now, and he surely deserves a shot at the gloves for Germany too. I feel it's going to be the biggest decision the coach has to make. What makes it all so much more complicated is the added aspect of demoting Neuer and selecting a new national team captain. And finally, I wanted to briefly touch on the whole Mesut Ozil saga. If you hadn't noticed, Ozil hasn't been in the picture for Germany since the summer, after he published a statement of retirement due to the heavy criticism and scapegoating he'd been the target of, following his controversial meeting with Turkish President Recep Erdogan. It's a sad situation which he doesn't deserve to be put in, and he's made it pretty clear that as long as the likes of Reinhard Grindel and Oliver Bierhoff are around the DFB, he won't be coming back. After 93 caps and 9 years of service, Ozil is without a doubt a legend of German football, and it's such a shame that he's effectively been forced out due to what's clearly a case of bigotry and racism. So, I think that's about all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, where I focus on a specific story, then leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.